opportunity to share my insights and expand on the article that I published at the end of last year, when I felt a little bit inspired about what the future of volunteering should look like. Before we start, and while we wait for some more colleagues to join us in a cat scale, how are you feeling today? Tell us on the chat how you're feeling. You can share the number and your role on the chat. And maybe because I cannot, by the way, I cannot see the chats. So, Mushka, if you can bring to life for me how people are feeling today in a cat scale and what are their roles, so I can get a sense of who I have got in the room today. I'm sure a lot of experts and volunteer leaders who are doing their very best to bring volunteering to life as an exciting opportunity for people. So if you can share a little bit on what is on the chat, that would be so.
We got a 5, Jess. Sorry. Mixtures, but a lot of 3 and 4s. I think it's everyone's a bit tired from Monday.
Oh, that's good. That's good for Monday. I am obviously very excited to be here today. So I am feeling, a solid 1. It's always a pleasure to be talking with colleagues from the sector about volunteering. So it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much for joining us. And now we are officially kicking off the session. Welcome, everybody. So I'm Elena Laguna. I have spent over a decade working with volunteer organizations. I started at the British Red Cross, and I later led teams at Oxfam and my most recent role at St. John Ambulance. I have also worked with youth organizations where action was very much part of the core of delivering their work. So delivering work with people, not to them, was essential, and that has been something that have brought a lot into my volunteering space. I'm currently running my own consultancy, Reward, which is about helping people, individuals, teams, and organizations to reconnect people, purpose, and ways of working to deliver real impact across volunteering, people and nature, learning and development, and organizational design. So that's me. You can connect with me on LinkedIn if you want to continue the conversation after this webinar. And pleased to meet everybody. Let's go. Let's get started. So today's focus is going to be, we are going to do a little bit introduction. We are going to be talking about why we're here. I will share a couple of stats, but honestly, I want to focus today's conversation very much on how we can practically move away from micro-volunteering, which sounds small and tiny, to flexible volunteering as a new operating model. So I'm going to be talking about what is flexible volunteering and what is not, the importance of a strategic impact, who are going to be your allies, who are going to be with you bringing this to life, how are you going to put volunteer voice at the heart of it, and the focus that we need to put in terms of learning and support and testing to make sure that we can demonstrate the value of it to the rest of the organization. And at the end of the presentation, so I'm going to be talking for about 20, 30 minutes. And then we are going to have a problem solving in action activity. So we are going to do a little group activity where we are going to solve a real flexible volunteering challenge in your organization. And we are going to kind of unpack that together. So this is today's focus, and this is what we are going to be covering in the next slides. So starting point, volunteering isn't broken. Our models are. Traditional volunteering work best for people with the privilege of time in a very different society. Micro-volunteering was an opportunity to increase access, and it was really good, over a decade already to be talking about micro-volunteering and opportunities to do volunteering differently. But that was too often seen as an add-on, as a project for only certain roles rather than core volunteering roles within volunteer organizations. So we know that volunteering, and you're best placed to tell us, you are the volunteer experts, you know what are the challenges that you are facing day in, day out. But we also have got a couple of stats and a few studies out there that are telling us that volunteering remains below pre-pandemic levels in the UK, and the access to opportunity and experience are not equals across ethnic groups. And this is coming from the Community Life Survey 2024-2025. But I know that you know that as well from your own experience. You know how much we are struggling to recruit volunteers, to retain them, to keep them motivated. And that's because our models are not aligned with society and how people are donating time and their skills in modern society. So our models are the ones that they need to change. People are still interested and passionate about, making a difference in their communities and giving time, but they are finding systems and barriers and making that really, really difficult. So to reverse current trends, what we need is volunteering needs to become an operating model redesign, enabling impact through transferable skills, learning, and inclusion. So we need to move away from micro volunteering as an add-on activity somewhere in your volunteering program to flexible volunteering across the entire organization, supported and enabled by other teams who are also making volunteering happen. So that's the starting point. This is where we are. There's lots that we can say about the current state of volunteering in the UK, but I think that's, together with your own experience and your reflections, is already telling us that we need to do something differently. A little bit about what volunteering is and what is not. Flexible volunteering is not a solo adventure. It's not something you should do in your own. You are not Alex Honnold going up your skyscraper, by yourself. This is not owned by one team. It's something that needs to be owned by the entire organization. So don't do an Alex. Don't go solo. We're going to talk a bit about that a bit later, but you need a community, you need a network to make flexible volunteering a success. Flexible volunteering is definitely not about changing hours in your role description. It's about redesigning the volunteer journey and the outcomes that you want for your organization. It's not just about when and for how long people turn up. It's also not about telling people or writing somewhere in your advert, everyone is welcome, every little helps. You really need to tell people how the little help they're going to give you are going to make a difference to your organization. So inclusion needs a structure, a learning environment, and support, and that needs to be redesigned across the entire organization. It's not something that you should write down on an advert. It's something that you have to demonstrate and to show how it looks in practice. And finally, flexible volunteering is not about letting volunteers do whatever they want to do. Flexibility requires flexibility. For it to be successful, it requires clear expectations, a feedback culture, dialogue between volunteers, the organization, the line managers, and connection. Otherwise, people might disengage and they just become isolated because they are against a system that is not enabling them to contribute in a way that works for them. So when we talk about flexible volunteering, these are the things that I'm not putting into that flexible volunteering bag. But let's talk about what is flexible volunteering. It's an organization-wide redesign, including systems. It focuses on how you're going to deliver your strategy, how volunteers' skills, lived experience, and motivations help you deliver what you want to do in your communities for the groups that you are supporting. It's built around transferable skills and different ways of doing things. It's about what people can bring to the organization and not about how they fit a mold. So really important that you shift completely the mindset. This is not about this is what I have, and you need to tick all these boxes for you to make a contribution. It's about this is what we need to achieve, this is what we need to deliver, and this is what needs to happen, and the improvements we want to see in these communities. And these are the skills, the motivations, and the behaviors we need, and how you make sure that there is clarity, collaboration, and inclusion at the heart of it. Flexible volunteering is going to thrive in peer-to-peer support environments and with a lot of mentoring. We are not going to be able to rely on very busy line managers to exclusively welcome, support, and provide feedback to volunteers who are being part of a flexible volunteering operating model. You're going to also rely on colleagues, mentors, existing volunteers, and other departments to create an environment where people can learn and bring to life those skills that you have been looking for. The next slide, we are going to be talking about strategic impact, which is something I said at the start of the presentation is fundamental. Flexible volunteering is a strategy for breakfast. I know it sounds like a cliche, but when impact and contributions are unclear, flexible volunteering doesn't really work. But when there is clarity around impacts, outcomes, contribution, then we know that work can be delivered differently. We know that skills can be used more creatively. And we know that contribution doesn't rely exclusively on fixed hours or traditional roles. And we know that there are other ways of delivering our impacts. Flexible volunteering thrives when we prioritize outcomes over processes, and it's about empowering individuals to deliver impact on their own terms while growing in their role. So there is a lot of empowerment and learning when it comes down to flexible volunteering. You're going to have to create an environment where people are going to feel safe to make mistakes, but also they're going to have the support they need to learn and grow alongside. So your starting point are not your roles, the hours. What you want people to achieve is about what are the outcomes that you want as a result of involving volunteers in your organization. I know that probably we have got a wide range of roles, organizations, fundraising managers, community managers, coordinators, head of volunteering. So today's presentation is not so much about walking away with an implementation plan tailored to your organization, but very much about the core design principles that you need to then co-create something that works for your organization. And starting with your strategy is absolutely essential. The next two slides are going to be essentially a roadmap for flexible volunteering. I'm going to add leadership roadmap because this is not about step by step what you need to do for flexible volunteering to work well. Is how you are going to lead. And let's be honest, you are the volunteer expert in the organization. If you are the main person leading volunteering, a function, a department, or if you are working with others in the organization, you are the experts and you are going to be leading a team to make flexible volunteering an organization-wide redesigned. As I said earlier, don't go solo. No matter the size of your team, you will need time, you will need resources, you will need attention, and you will need shared ownership. So before you start, don't start flexible volunteering as something that you strongly believe is the right thing to do. Tell your executive team and get the support from your line manager to make sure that executive teams and people who have got decision-making rights behind your ideas. Because of course, as a volunteer expert, you will know what is needed to revert those trends that I was referring to before. But you're going to need much more than your own motivation and ideas to make it successful. Make sure that you speak executive language. Executives pay attention when you talk about risk, strategic alignment, and financial efficiency. So make sure that when you're talking about flexible volunteering, it addresses some of the challenges that concerns them the most. Again, think about strategy, not just the organizational strategy, but what are the outcomes that those departments working and involving volunteers want to achieve? What is that is for the fundraising team, for the services team, for the delivery team? What is in for them and how volunteers are going to contribute to delivery and to success. And really, really, really important, co-design with volunteers. Lived experiences leads to better fit solutions. They build trust. lived experiences, they also create flexibility that works in real life. So this is not, flexible volunteering shouldn't be an abstract concept that we know is good for the organization. It's something that volunteers are actively telling you how it looks like in practice, which goes back to my point of, this is not a nice motto somewhere, every little helps. This is about, this is how the contribution you're making in your own terms is making a difference to us, and this is how it links to our strategy. And this is how a new operating model becomes real. It's about connecting all these pieces before you can jump in to do anything. But once you have got engagement, support, buy-in from those departments involving volunteers, executive team, your own volunteers, and make sure that when you involve volunteers in the co-creation space, you think tactically about who is going to be involved in those working groups, who is going to share views that are going to help you get closer to what you need. So that's something that requires some thinking as well. Very, very important, connect and work very closely with your HR and EDI teams. If your organization is small and you don't have an EDI team, then think about who has the skills, the experience, the interest in supporting EDI initiatives, because that's going to make your case even stronger. They're going to help you with the HR is going to help you to manage line management expectations, is going to help you with culture change. Flexible volunteering as an operating model is going to need a culture change. It's going to need a change in behaviors, in how we get things done, and how leadership sees volunteering within the organization. HR is also going to tell you mitigate risks, and is going to help you remove structural barriers, because they probably have done something in EDI in the past, and they can help you to anticipate those barriers that you might face. Very, very important, connect with your learning and development department to build capability. And if you don't have a learning and development department and you are the trainer in your organization, you're going to have to think very carefully about how learning is going to play a core role, not just in how you're going to change behaviors from line managers, but how you're going to build role-specific capabilities, how you're going to create communities of practice with peer-to-peer support. What you need to build a culture of feedback, because when you create flexible volunteering and a dialogue, a two-way street communication is going to be absolutely essential, and being open to feedback both ways for volunteers and for the organization is going to be really important. You're going to think to how you're going to redesign onboarding so it's flexible. There are lots of things that you're going to need in the learning and development space. So think carefully about who are going to be your allies there and who is going to help you with that. And if you are that person, then make sure that you invest enough time and capacity from your own role to support that. Really, really important, before scaling, you will need piloting to refine the model, to demonstrate efficiencies, and to build confidence across the organization. Creating a new operating model and designing a new operating model requires a lot of buy-in from the organization. So there is a lot that you're going to need to make to increase confidence in flexible volunteering. But I forgot to add this one earlier when I was talking about learning and development. You can see there a stat about only 20% of managers feel equipped to manage their teams right now. This is coming from a Wiley report from 2023. So you can imagine, if people line managers are struggling now to manage their teams, you need to think about how that's going to look like when you're asking them something very different. A much more inclusive approach to redesign roles, the volunteer journey as a whole, delivering training. So again, it's just to make a point about the importance of it. And finally, data makes it strategic. Use engagement, financial, or performance insights to inform the design of the operating model in your organization, to track KPIs, and to show impact and learning over time. This is the language that is going to get you the buy-in from the executive team, from the senior leadership team. This is how they're going to give you time, resources This is how they are going to ask the line reports to support you. So make sure that you connect with whoever in your organization holds the data performance insight, to make sure that you're bringing that to life, because data turns flexible volunteering from a nice thing to do, which we all want, into a strategic operating model. So you're going to have to go beyond what we really want as volunteer experts in our fields, beyond what we believe is the right thing to do, beyond what we believe is going to reverse the current trends. You're going to have to demonstrate how making a difference and why you need a different approach to it. So that's the wrap up of the leadership roadmap. But I would like to make a bit more emphasis on how setting flexible volunteering up for success. From an EDI perspective, I think it's really important that you look honestly at your inclusion and experience data, including who stays, who leaves, and why, and who needs to and who never joins. You need to look into your volunteer experience and satisfaction rates, bullying and harassment reports. Remember that flexible volunteering will not fix poor diversity within your organization, within volunteering in your organization. It's actually going to expose it. It's going to expose the barriers that people are facing to be part of your volunteering activities. So you're going to have an honest look at what is the makeup of inclusion, diversity, and equity across your organization, because we know that EDI initiatives without psychological safety increase risk and disengagement. We know that they don't work. If you're all of a sudden investing this time to open the doors to different thoughts, perspectives, backgrounds, you're going to need a space that is about belonging, that people are going to feel confident about challenging norms and confident about learning. And for that, you're going to need to create a safer space. So really important that you look at the current makeup of EDI within your organization, because we know that inclusive cultures are more likely to retain diverse volunteers. If someone turns up for a flexible volunteering, within a flexible volunteering model, but then they don't have a great experience, they don't have access to opportunities, they don't really know how to complete their training, they don't feel that they can talk to anybody, they don't feel that when they turn up they're included in the conversations, that's still not flexible volunteering. Is not going to help you fix poor diversity. Look at inclusion, look at belonging, look at how things are being done from a leadership perspective and from a psychological safety perspective within your organization. So that's actually the end of my presentation. What I wanted to tell you today, really important, something I often think about organizations involving volunteers. We are not volunteer factories. We create inclusive, meaningful experiences for organizations to make a genuine difference in communities, in people, in people's lives. So really important that when you think about flexible volunteering, strategic impact, learning, and inclusion are at the heart of it. But not just because it's a nice thing to do, not just because that's going to help you attract more people, but because it's going to help you deliver the very important work that your non-for-profit organization is probably set to deliver. So I hope you are now all ready for a 20-minute activity. We are going to do a group activity. We are going to split the group into different groups of 3 people to explore a real challenge using a peer coaching approach. So I'm going to go through steps in there. First of all, so we are going to create groups of 3. We are going to choose one challenge. One person is going to share a real challenge related to flexible volunteering. If you are currently not doing flexible volunteering or micro volunteering, think about the challenges that you will face if your flexible volunteering model would have already failed. So think about those challenges if you start working in flexible volunteering and things don't go as planned. What are the challenges that you anticipate you will be facing at that point? But if you're already doing flexible volunteering, then share a real challenge with your peers. At number two, there will be an opportunity for the other two colleagues to act as consultants, and they're going to ask short questions to understand the issue better. It's not about solutions at that point. It's about curiosity. It's about understanding what is really underneath of the issue that the other person is sharing. Step number three, which is 5 minutes, it's about the challenge holder. So the person who is going to share the challenge is going to, stay quiet for a second, for 5 minutes, actually. And while the other two, they share ideas, perspectives, options, and they focus on practical steps. And the challenge holder, you should be taking notes. You should be listening to what people are saying. And then the last step is about reflection. And capture the learning, and the change holder should share what stood out, what feels most useful, and one action that they will take next. Very important that you keep it practical. So either work on a real flexible volunteering challenge that you're facing now, or think about one that you can anticipate. Build on each other's ideas, stay curious and not critical. And you should all be listening more than you speak. So make sure that you kind of implement the active listening approach when colleagues are sharing ideas or the challenge. So Mushka, I am going to hand it over to you now. So you can split the groups into three. How does